What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you a video discussing the brand new Pendulum Magician FTK that was just discovered at YCS Atlanta. I wanted to bring you this video as a combo tutorial to show you step by step how this combo works, but also discuss counter options if you encounter this deck at a tournament, to discuss the best ways to help counter it and to help prevent you from getting FTK. This is a little bit scary because Pendulum Magician is already the best deck of the format, at least it's looking like it as the results of YCS Atlanta came in. And the thing is, not only is this deck able to just produce insanely powerful boards, but just by modifying a couple cards in the deck and not really hindering the deck's consistency as a whole, you're able to just FTK your opponent on the first turn, and you don't have to worry about whatever board you might need to assemble if you can just kill them on turn one. But before we get into that, I want to give a big shout out to my newest patrons as always. So big shout outs today to Carlos, to Cody, to Absolutely, as well as Jesus for upping his pledge as well. You guys are the reason that this channel is growing strong. And if you guys want to help support me in the channel through Patreon, then check out the Patreon link in the description below. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So the thing is with this combo, there are a ton of different ways that you can go about doing it because that's kind of the way Pendulum Magician works. I'm going to go ahead and showcase probably the most bare bones way you can get away with pulling off the combo. But the thing is, because there's so many different extenders and because Astrograph Sorcerer is a thing and all these other different variables, I want to just showcase the simplest form of this combo and kind of how the steps are going to look if you see and happen to encounter this deck at a tournament. So what you're going to see, or what you're going to need to pull off this combo, is any way to access Dark Worm, so either by normal summoning it, or you can also send it off Burial or Dragon Shrine like a lot of players are playing. Chronograph Sorcerer is really good, or basically any way just to get to Electromite in tandem with Dark Worm. It's pretty much a good start. And then you're also just going to need just a way to get 4 Dark Pendulum monsters onto the board. So for this example, I'm going to have a Black Fang Magician as well as a Harmonizing Magician. So if I was going first, I would still have a 5th card in my hand to work with, and that could just be an extender in case my opponent has a way to disrupt this combo. So starting off, what you're going to do is I'm just going to normal summon the Dark Worm in this instance. That's going to trigger Dark Worm's effect, which is going to add Supreme King Gate 0 to our hand. Now we're going to go ahead and scale the Chronograph Sorcerer here, activate Sorcerer's effect to pop itself, and special out a Time Gazer Magician to our field. So now we have the way to access Electromite, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So by linking these two up, we're going to go ahead and summon Electromite. Now, Electromite's effect is going to trigger, and rather than setting Astrograph Sorcerer, which is very common with Heavy Metal Foes Electromite because obviously it's like the best card to send, we're actually going to send Supreme King Gate Infinity to the extra deck. This is necessary for the combo, and one of the other weird pieces that we need to include in the deck, but frankly, it's not really that big of a deal because, again, if we're FTKing our opponent, who cares? It's a nice one-of, and it's not the worst card ever. It has a little bit of synergy in the deck outside of it, but you're going to see that a little bit later. Now from here, all we really just need is a way to Pendulum Summon at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and scale our Supreme King Gate 0 as well as our Black Fang Magician here. Harmonizing will just stay in our hand. And we're going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon. So you're going to Pendulum Summon the Supreme King Gate Infinity as well as the Chronograph Sorcerer here. And we're also going to bring out our Harmonizing Magician. Now, Harmonizing Magician will go ahead and trigger its effect. You can bring out any Pendulum monster, or excuse me, any valid target, I guess I should say, for Harmonizing Magician. As long as it's a Dark Pendulum monster, that's really all that matters in this case. So that now we have 4, like I said at the beginning. Now we're going to use the effect of Supreme King Gate Infinity, and this is where things get crazy. So this card has an effect in the monster zone that you can target another card in itself, destroy them, and then you're able to take a Xyz or Pendulum Dark Dragon type monster, I believe, and special summon it to from your extra deck. So in this case, since Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm fulfills those requirements, we're able to special summon it out onto the field. So when you Pendulum Summon, make sure you don't summon the Dark Worm because you need it for this combo. This is going to trigger the second effect of Infinity, which if it's destroyed by card effect, you can place it in your scale. So we need to get that back in the scale because now we're going to use the effect of Supreme King Gate 0. It has a scale effect that you can destroy Infinity if it's the other card in your scale and itself to search any polymerization or fusion spell card from your deck and add it to your hand. And with that, we're going to go ahead and add ourselves Instant Fusion. So we're going to tuck that down here for a minute because we can't activate it yet since our zones are occupied. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our Chronograph Sorcerer and our Dark Worm, and we're going to go ahead and make Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom. This is basically how the whole FTK goes down, and that's going to be in tandem with what we summon off of Instant Fusion. So now since we have a zone available from Electromite, we're going to use Instant Fusion to summon out Lyrilisk Independent Nightingale. Now, this is basically the combo right here with Nightingale as well as Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom. Lyrilisk Independent Nightingale has an effect where basically it will be able to gain 500 attack for each one of its levels, and once per turn you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each one of its levels as well. It also is unaffected by other card effects. So at this point, since we've already used our Instant Fusion, you could just burn your opponent for 500, but you don't even have to because you're going to be able to burn for 8,000 exact regardless. So basically, if you haven't already figured it out, with Starving Venom, we're able to copy the effect of the Nightingale, which since Starving Venom is a level 8, means that we're going to be able to deal 4,000 burn damage to our opponent. At the very least, we can attack our opponent if we're going second for 6,800 damage, and that's with piercing. So from here, you're going to take the Electromite and the Nightingale, get them into the graveyard, and you're going to link up for Zephyr Metaltron. This is going to free up some more zones and allow us to take our last 2 Pendulum Magicians and go ahead and summon a second copy of Supreme King Dragon Starving Venom. So basically here we'll use both effects of the Starving Venoms to copy the effect of the Lyrilisk Independent Nightingale, and that's basically what's going to allow us to deal 4,000 damage as well as 8,000 damage before our opponent is even able to play the game. Worst case scenario, if you're going second and you're playing a build that incorporates some of these cards, you can even just summon 1 Starving Venom. Starving Venom is going to be on 6,800 attack. You burn them for 4,000, so they're already down to 4,000 life points. So that basically means they're going to need something with a tremendously high defense if they're going to withstand a 6,800 attack monster with piercing if they want to survive. So that's it for the FTK, but I also wanted to discuss some options as to how you can counter this, because this is something that is just absolutely incredible, and if you're not prepared for it, it's something that can just completely catch you off guard and lose you a game that you shouldn't have to lose if you don't know otherwise. So one thing you can do is that if you can, you're perfectly capable of hitting something like the Electromite. If you can hit the Electromite with something like a Ghost Ogre, that's actually a really big deal, because even though this the other scale will be sent to their zone, you're not going to be able, they're not going to be able to pendulum summon 2 monsters out of their pendulum zone, and they're not going to be able to get to the scale as easily. And that because they need 4 pendulum monsters on the field, Dark Pendulum specifically, because they need to make the 2 Starving Venoms, it makes it very difficult for them to do that. You can also use Effect Veiler, because Effect Veiler hitting the Electromite is also very big, because by hitting the Electromite, they're not going to be able to send that scale out of their deck, and that kind of makes the whole combo fall apart. But if they already have the Instant Fusion anyway, it doesn't really matter as long as they can just so much assemble those 4 Dark Pendulum monsters on the field, because that's basically all they're going to need at that point anyway. Some other options you can use as well. Psyframe Gear Gamma is also very good because it just effect negation. It also removes the threat from the field if your deck can incorporate Gamma. You can also hit the Starving Venom Dragons directly, because by hitting them, because they have an activated effect, you can hit it with Veiler, because Veiler's not going to be able, the effect of the Nightingale to make it unaffected by all their card effects would be Chainlink 1, so Veiler would be Chainlink 2, so it would still be affected. Same thing goes for something like Ogre as well as Gamma. And by doing that, that means that they're not going to be able to burn you or kill you depending on if you're going first or second. So I would definitely think hitting Electromite or Starving Venom are probably the best ways to counteract this FTK. Another way too is if you can prevent the Nightingale from actually hitting the field in general, that's another very strong way, because if they can't get to the Nightingale, then they can't use Starving Venom to copy it, and that means they're not going to be able to burn you or hit you with a ton of piercing damage. But that's a little bit more difficult to stop if you're going first. I think if you're going second and if you have a several negates set up, if you can stop Instant Fusion with a way to stop a spell activation, that would be really huge, because then they make this huge board to try to kill you, and then they can't summon this Nightingale, and then they're basically shit out of luck at that point. So being able to stop the Nightingale, I would say, is also a very beneficial way to prevent this OTK as a whole. So guys, that's it for today's video. I really just wanted to showcase how this FTK works, as well as discuss some counter options to help it so that you don't get FTK'd by this deck if you happen to encounter it. I have a feeling that this is going to become extremely popular because the fact that there's an FTK in the strongest and most popular deck in the current competitive environment means that we might start seeing a lot more of this, and even if you don't pull off the FTK, you're still playing what's considered the best deck of the format. You just happen to be also playing an FTK that could just end the game on turn 1 as well. So guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this FTK as a whole, and if there's any other options in terms of stopping it that you think would be beneficial for other people to know. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.